I would like to call this meeting to order. Before we begin, John, will you do the pledge for us, please?
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. We will do roll call. I will be leading the meeting tonight because Chair Johnson is unable to make it. He's on a family vacation and his flight got canceled. So, yes, I'm going to go alphabetical. So, Commissioner Dologowski.
present.
Garcia, present. Grace, unavailable. Commissioner Haskins.
Here.
Johnson, we already addressed. Commissioner Hahn.
Present.
Commissioner McCain.
Present.
Commissioner Schmidt. Not present. And Commissioner Randall.
Present.
Perfect. We have quorum established. All right. Before we begin, we had a request from staff to move item 6C to basically 6A. To just switch those. Can I get a motion for that?
I motion to move item 6C to item 6A.
I second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, passed unanimously. All right, any special presentations?
No.
None tonight, okay. Can I get an approval of minutes for do I have to do them separately or can I do them all at the same time?
It's up to you if you want it.
Okay. Is there any discussion for the October 14th or October 28th minutes? Okay, can I get a motion to approve both the October 14th and 28th, 2025 minutes?
Motion to approve those minutes.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, any opposition? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passed unanimously. Any oral communications? Nope.
Oh, there was one, I think.
Oh, okay, for me. Sorry.
I did.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so then can I please have Miss Suzanne come?
There's one other person coming, but they're not.
Okay.
Hi, good evening, City Council. I would like to talk about the automated license plate readers. Wanting a clarification if this is part of the surveillance that is along the beach to see if there's illegal aliens coming into the beach area. And also wanting to know why there would be a need for surveillance in parking lots to read license plates. Already there is surveillance in a lot of parking lots. Example would be Target, Walmart, and the outlet mall, San Clemente. Why does our city of San Clemente need to spend more money to have city surveillance surveil us more 24/7? Okay, also, what is already in place in parking lots with drones and is well adequate to read license plates and VIN numbers of people in question. I'm all in favor of saving our city tax dollars for better use. Now, the second thing I'm going to talk about is the 4th of July trolley. When going from the pier around the bend, the road, they were throwing balloons, which I understand is usual, but they were throwing them really hard into the trolley. These people think it's a lot of fun getting people wet, but if a balloon is thrown at a head really hard, it can cause brain damage. My friend and I were riding on the trolley on July 4th, and she was hit on the head really hard in the back of her head and the side of her head. Fortunately, she's okay, but it caused her a lot of brain hurting and dizziness for days and days and days. We'd like to encourage, also another woman was hit in the ear. She had just bought a $4,000 hearing aid, and the balloon happened to hit her right where the hearing aid that she just bought. I would like to encourage no balloon throwing at all. I know that's no fun for some people, but at anyone who is riding on the trolley. And that's basically all I have to say. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
hearing me. I know that they're off topic, but
Thank you.
anyway, it's just sad. She was hurting for days and days.
Thank you. Can we have the minutes reflect that Commissioner Schmidt is here? Yes. Any more oral communications?
Just regarding the readers,
Wait.
there you go. How you doing? How are you? Chris King, resident. In terms of the license plate readers, I think it's just a slippery slope with, first for one, the expense, unless you're gonna use it to generate income by giving people tickets, which is another thing I don't really think is good for the community. Right now, it's no problem parking anywhere. You know, people they're not, getting fleeced for, I'm not having to grab a credit card and go scan a credit card in order to park my car. Like, it's ridiculous. I know that everyone's kind of accepted that, but the community here doesn't need that. And the expense alone, not only that, I mean, you got to figure in England, people are getting thrown in jail for Facebook posts, and their facial recognition software is tracking them everywhere they go. It's enough. It's enough with the invasion of our privacies. It's enough. And this community's still at a point where it hasn't been destroyed by overdevelopment, which is something else that I would love to talk about at some later date, with why the permits are being handed out to developers. I know that California has its mandate. I know Huntington Beach is fighting it with a lawsuit, so should we. The roads and infrastructure right now are already inundated with traffic to the point where any more developments and it'll just shut this place down and take away the small neighborhood vibe that it has, or not small neighborhood, but the vibe that is so great about San Clemente. I love it here, and I'm seeing it change. These readers, to stay on topic, to stay on topic, the readers are all part of that system of turning this place into something that is a wonderful place to be and a wonderful place to live, to turning it into something that's going to end up initially having an expense that we don't need, but the end result will be used to just fleece more money out of ourselves, out of our own people. Not to mention the invasion of privacy. Unless there's a reason for somebody to be looking into my address or my information through my license plate, they shouldn't have that. It should be, I should be able to park. But the license plate readers are an unnecessary expense. Majority of people don't want them. And unless, the board could explain to me why they would be needed or used, is it to prevent crime? If that's what we need to prevent, if we need to violate our rights to prevent crime, then where does that stop? Should we have facial recognition software watching us everywhere?
Thank you.
And, sorry,
Appreciate it.
that was too long-winded anyway.
Thank you. Can you give your card to Debbie, though? Just so
For sure I
will.
will. And I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you
Thank
being
you.
patient and listening to me. I know that I kind of went off topic.
Thank you.
you.
Appreciate
Appreciate you guys.
that. Okay, recreation activities update.
I have a brief update. Is it on the screen? Okay, since our last meeting, we successfully hosted Pumpkin Splash at the San Clemente Aquatics, and we had 300 people come and 300 pumpkins in the pool. That was on October 18th. We'll do that again next year. Next slide, please. We also held our Red Ribbon Walk-in Rally at on the beach trail and headed towards the pier, where we had about 500 participants come out and show their spirit in support of an anti-drug-free lifestyle. And the Fisherman's Restaurant provided frozen yogurt cones after that for all of our students. Next slide, please. We concluded October with the Monster Dash and Creepy Crawl up and down Del Mar and through the downtown area. We had 500 participants in our 5K and a total of 362 in our Creepy Crawl. And this was I believe our 5th annual. We'll look forward to doing this again next year. And next slide, please. We started out November with Dia de los Muertos, another wonderful event with about 700 participants at Maxburg Plaza Park. And that included an art contest, cultural dance displays, and live entertainment as well. Next slide, please. November also concluded with the doggy dive with 90 dogs in our pool. And the pool has now since been cleaned and refreshed, so you may swim in there without being you'll be dog free, not to worry. This is a very popular event, and as you can see, the dogs get very excited. We do have a 3-time winning champion of the dog pie eating contest. That's a bulldog. I think it's a bulldog. He's very cute. Next slide, please. And then we also concluded the Santa's Village by the Sea was held on December 6th in the downtown area on Del Mar. We had about 10,000 people downtown coming from all areas of Southern California, we learned. It was a great turnout, a great cheerful vibe, and everybody enjoyed themselves. And then we are concluding our Sunsets with Santa this coming December 20th, this Saturday, with free visits with Santa out at the end of the pier with the holiday tree. Will be there. That's from 3 to 5 p.m. There is no charge for this, but there is no photographer, so participants can bring their own phone, get in line, and enjoy a picture with Santa in the sunset. And that concludes our events for 2025. That's a wrap.
Thank you. Great job. All right, any old business?
No.
None. Okay. So since we made the motion to move 6C up to 6A, can we please have Director Tamian?
Good evening, Commission. My name is Adam Tamian. I'm the Community Development Director. The item before you is related to a committee that needs to be staffed by a few folks. This is the Social Services Budget Committee. They are tasked with reviewing social service grant applications that are received as part of our Community Development Block Grant Program. The Community Development Block Grant Program is a federal program from the Department of Housing and Urban Development. It's related to providing funds to improve local communities with programs specifically geared towards improving the lives of disadvantaged communities. So the grant applications are from groups like the Family Assistance Ministries. In the past, the Boys and Girls Club have been recipients. And as well as the city, with their Fun on the Run program, have been applicants for that program. The committee is staffed by one member of the council. This year it will be Councilmember Enmeyer. It's myself, management analyst from my department, and then there are 2 positions that used to be staffed by the Human Affairs Committee members. Since that committee was disbanded, the council, in updating the ordinances related to the new Community Safety and Welfare Committee and the Beaches, Parks and Recreation Commission, identified that one member of each of those committee and commissions would be select a member to serve on that Social Services Grant Committee. So at this point, I'm here to ask that a member of this commission be appointed to serve. The committee meets once to review applications with the help of our CDBG consultant. And that meeting is typically held towards the end of February. It might be in the beginning of March this year, but it's that time frame. I'm happy to answer any other questions. Otherwise, looking forward to find out who we're working with.
Does anyone have any questions? Do we have any volunteers for this position?
Well, hold on, I have
Yeah.
a question.
Yeah.
What's the actual deliverable for 2020?
So the deliverable is our CDBG consultant and our city staff put out a notice of funding opportunity to solicit applications for these social service grants. There's on a typical year, we have about $45,000 worth of grant funding that can be allocated. We have generally in the neighborhood of 6 to 7 applications, and so the committee is tasked with reviewing those applications and actually allocating the funds for each group. And that the funds vary somewhere between $5,000 and $20,000 per group.
Thank you.
Any other questions, commissioners? Would anyone be interested in being on this committee?
If there's no volunteers, I will step down from my temporary aquatic center. What's the recreation that?
You can do both. This is a one-time thing.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
just February?
Yeah, just this one meeting.
Working out.
Oh, you.
Yeah. Why
Okay.
not? Yeah.
All right, can I have a motion to appoint Commissioner Schmidt to the community, or what is this called?
The social services.
Social Service Community Service Committee. Okay, I will make a motion to appoint Commissioner Schmidt to the city's Social Service Committee. Can I have a second? All right, second by Haskins. All in favor? Aye. All right, passed unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, so to go in order, we will now address item. Can we do the parking and transportation? Can we do that one? All right.
Yeah, that'll be next.
Okay.
This was the gentleman from the previous item.
Is this common? Yeah, oh.
I'm Zach Reed. I'm a principal planner of staff at the city, and I'll be giving a briefing. Actually, if you'd like to give me a little guidance, I could go anywhere from like 3 to 10 minutes. How much do you want to hear about parking and transportation?
I personally would like 10 minutes.
Okay,
The floor is yours.
thank you. And I'm going to skip through relatively quickly. This presentation's been pared down from one that's going to go tomorrow to the Planning Commission, which is our chief advisory body on most things parking. And then the timeline is it'll go to City Council sometime next year. We don't know exactly when. I'm also happy to return to this body with the next draft of our document. What I've given you is basically just 240 pages of research and analysis. It's not really a finished product. So if you like what I have to say and if you think it'll be helpful, I'm happy to come back in a couple months with the next draft. If not, you can send me on my way at the end of today and I won't be offended. So here's our framework. The project started about a year ago with an analysis of current parking conditions, and that was data collected by a consultant that we hired with grant funding from the Coastal Commission. So we accepted that grant funding of $250,000. We went through an RFP process. We picked a consultant. A lot of the project was them driving around a vehicle, which I think I have another slide here. That actually, in fact, had some automated cameras on there that was gathering temporary parking data around downtown and then the coastal beach parking lots. And they did this in January of this year and then July, August on a Thursday and a Saturday between 6 a.m. and 10 p.m. So I don't know if anyone saw these cars, but they were driving around the city. We also used city vehicles and city staff to augment their research. Essentially, it's 4 days of parking data collection, every public parking lot, a lot of private parking lots, and then the street parking in the downtown and coastal areas. So going back, after getting the parking data, they looked at other cities, they looked at past parking analysis in this city. We've done about eight or so of these parking analyses and plans over the last 25 years. It used to be every 2 years that staff would go out and collect data and report back to the city council, but we haven't had one, I think, since COVID. 2019 or 20 was the last one. And then what will be different, hopefully, about this effort is it will result in a more comprehensive parking plan and a pro forma that will go to the city council with actual implementable changes that we can make to augment the amount of revenue that we're bringing in, and then ideally spend that revenue on things that reduce parking demand, like shuttles and improvements to pedestrian and bicycle infrastructure, and things that would get people to have a lower demand for parking, because that's generally preferable than building and building and building lots more parking, or charging more and more money for parking to discourage demand. So that plan is what we're working on. That ideally will come out in draft form in January, and that's going to be sort of a menu of options and a timeline that will summarize the data, but it will also present next steps and opportunities. Here's our timeline. We're nearing the end where, in theory, we were supposed to actually finish the plan in December. We're a couple months behind, but this shows the data collection, analysis, and planning. We've been to 4 or 5 public outreach events. I think we spoke to over 1,000 residents with staff and the consultants. They're on the screen here: Earth Day, Cinco de Mayo, the Glitz, Car Show. Here's a map of the study area. Again, it's primarily focused on El Camino Real, and then what we call the T zone, which is different from T Street. But we almost get over to T Street, and then we've got the beach parking lots essentially between T Street and Linda Lane, with the major emphasis on the beach parking lots by the pier. Here's our data collection slide again. I'm going to go through just real quick on the results. We have about 100 pages of this in the analysis if anyone cares to read through it or wants to follow up after this meeting in the next month or two. But like I said, we collected data in January and July. There was slightly higher demand in July, but overall we're not at peak capacity really in any of the lots except for a few hours a day. The beach lot by the pier, you're going to notice, is full in the summer. But we do have excess capacity. It's just certain areas, certain lots, certain times of day where it appears the parking is totally occupied. Overall, it's between 50 and 60%. These are by focus area. It tends to be a lot higher, closer to 85-90% in the Pier Bowl area, especially on summer weekends, on the Saturday collection period. Generally what we're looking for is 85% occupancy. You don't want to be at 100% occupancy because then people start circling and getting frustrated and parking illegally. You want to be somewhere near that 85% mark. Again, we have lots more of these maps. These break it down on a block-by-block scale, with sort of green as showing parking available, red as parking occupied, and then the squares are public and private parking lots and the occupancy in those areas. We also looked at turnover. So most people do park for 2 hours or less, but there's a significant number of people that are parking for 2 to 4, 4 to 6, or 6 to 8, including in high-demand areas like the Pier Bowl and downtown. That's something we would like to address with either more enforcement of current rules, which say you're only supposed to be there for 2 to 4 hours, or with other methods like fees, or implementing certain blocks where you have to turn over every 2 hours, or through enforcement. Right now, enforcement is lacking. This is a similar slide to the first couple. It shows a variation in demand, and people park for different reasons, whether that's beachgoers or downtown goers or businesses and their employees, and we're trying to reach a solution that works for everybody without upsetting a relative balance that we have now. This is what other cities are doing. Happy to talk about it in more detail if anyone wants. These are different strategies that 10 other beach cities are doing. These were the initial recommendations that we talked about at most of our public outreach, kind of the low-hanging fruit: expanding the trolley service, providing those micro shuttles that a lot of cities have, providing options for the neighborhood electric vehicles or the golf carts, and then improving signage, improving the street environment, wayfinding, pedestrian improvements. Then we got into a lot more detailed strategies that are the next 8 or 10 slides. I'm going to skip all the way through it, but they're in the report. A lot of that is related to time restrictions, enforcement, and modest increases in price to encourage turnover and discourage people from parking for long periods of time in high desirable areas. This is our current revenues, which are really good. It's not really a goal of this study, although it will certainly be discussed by Planning Commission and City Council to increase the revenues a lot. That wasn't the point of the study. We already run at a surplus. So overall, we bring in about $1.7 million in revenue between the meters and the passes that people buy for $50 to $100, and citations, which run about $600,000 in citations, and citation revenue is split half and half between the general fund and half that goes to the Clean Ocean Fund, which has funded various activities that BPR has probably seen before.
So that's 1,000 tickets?
I think I've got
Like
it on-
$60 a ticket? Right,
It is an average of $62 a ticket. I've got it on one of these slides here. Let's see, these are the passes, the permits. On this slide is the tickets, and it's too small for me to read. I should have
Sorry,
inserted it.
Should be on your screen right here.
Oh, it is on the screen.
does the 200 pages have
Yeah.
parking spaces to ticket percentage?
Yeah, it's got a lot of tables about how many tickets were written in each month. It says here the average is $58 in gross revenue. That's probably your 60 minus a fee for processing. It says that we wrote 10,444 tickets last year, and that money got split half and half between General Fund and Clean Ocean Fund. Other cities, Newport Beach generated 11 times as much revenue as we did in tickets, almost $4 million in tickets. Laguna obviously also generates a lot in tickets. We don't have any full-time staff. What we have are the senior volunteers that write tickets primarily on weekdays and weekend mornings, but the periods of weekday nights and weekend evenings when there's more parking and probably more violation, we have limited enforcement, and a lot of people know that, so they don't pay. So one potential recommendation is to try to get more senior volunteers, or to have our park rangers already authorized to write tickets. We just also don't have enough park rangers, and they have other priority items they have to focus on. But if we were to augment either the seniors or the park rangers, they could write more tickets or just expand their enforcement to cover the full day. So that's what this slide is meant to cover. The slide I was initially going to talk about mostly with this committee was the passes, because those are a really popular program. It's a great amenity that we offer residents. It brings in a modest amount of revenue, but this committee and the city council had previously looked at the recreational stipends that we're offering for other programs like the swimming pools and the park fields. And on a similar manner, we're providing a pretty big stipend for those $50, $100 parking passes that allow residents and non-residents to park year-round at any meter or any beach parking without paying, and also to exceed the time restrictions. So there's different ways you can calculate the value and the stipend the city's providing, but essentially almost all of the passes were sold to residents at that $50 rate. Hardly any were sold at the $100 non-resident rate. Again, Laguna Beach charges $200 for those permits. Newport Beach charges $645 compared to our $50.
Is this the same kind of resident confirmation as the golf course? Or utility bill, or is it just an address?
I think you can show
Provide
just,
your registration.
It's car registration.
Car
Registration.
registration? Okay.
yeah, and you can apply for one online or at City Hall. So this slide shows, I think, how many we issued. We raised $230,000 or so, almost all of them at $50 a piece. So that's about 4,000 parking permits that we sold last year. So one option would be to increase that fee modestly. We could also increase the non-resident fee, but there were hardly any non-residents taking advantage of this program. A way to calculate what those permits could be, again, is what neighboring cities charge, or also just the value of a parking space. The cost to build more parking, if we were to build a garage, there have been various proposals downtown or even at the beach lot to build a second level, is about $40,000 a parking space. If you figure that the people buy these are there for even 1/100th of the year, that would yield a value of about $400 if they're there every few days for a couple hours. Or you could look at it as the value of the spaces we already have, and the money that we collect in the beach lots is $1.50 times 12 hours times 365 days. That value would put it closer at $600 to what we're subsidizing for a $50 rate. I don't think it's going to be the staff or the consultant recommendation to go to $400 or $600, but it is a recommendation to probably increase it from that $50. And then what that money would be used for, again, is the sort of low-hanging fruit improvements that were shown on the last slide, like bike, pedestrian, neighborhood electric vehicle, trolley, electric shuttle connector. Those are items the city's already running. 3 of those programs, we're going to be proposing to expand some of those programs anyway. We already have about $1 million surplus from parking, but even if we just did modest increase in enforcement in rates, and in the last major recommendation, I don't know if I have a slide, I think it's this one, is to modernize our parking meters, which I'm not sure if that was what drew the last 2 speakers here. I will follow up with them if we got their info. We're not proposing automated license plate readers at this time. That's an option that the consultant recommended we could look at in like 5 years. That would require buying new vehicles to implement those automated cameras. But staff and the consultant will be proposing just better parking meters. Right now we still have a lot that only accept coins, and we have a lot where it's every single parking meter where you could have one box instead of the individual meters. That would save money for staff and for the vendors that we pay fees to. So that's what this slide is showing. I think that's kind of a wrap. I'm, again, most interested in your opinion on the beach lots, whether you've heard from other customers or based on your own personal experience how those are managed, or if you know much about the senior volunteer program, and then your thoughts on how the cost recovery should be handled with the PASS program that's currently $50.
I have just maybe one comment and a couple of questions. The one is that there was a survey sent out regarding parking. I know I filled it out, and I didn't see any of the results of that survey in the report. Is that a separate program? Is that separate from this, or to be included?
That is a good point. That survey was produced by the city's consultants, and we had a project website that is still accepting survey responses. I think we did compile the data from the public outreach events where we talked to people, and I know we've compiled data from business owners. We did one survey for business owners and one for residents, but I will make sure that data gets included in the next report set of appendices. I can also follow up with you individually.
The second one was, I was surprised there was in that 240 pages, there was only one mention of the parklets on Del Mar. That during the kind of the health emergency, it was allowed to take some spaces and turn it into outdoor dining. And I think the report said that takes up 28 spaces. And there was no discussion or mention of that. There was a definition of what a parklet is, but there was no discussion about that, whether turning those back into parking places would be a good idea, or the rationale for not doing that. And was there a survey of the business owners, the restaurant owners, and the other business owners? So that would be something I would want to know.
Yeah, we are still working on that question, and that's come up at 2 different planning commission hearings as well. Members of the public and the planning commission had asked about the parklet program and how that interfaces with current management or future changes.
What is your recommendation at this point?
It's a city council decision. Right now that program is set to expire at the end of July 2026. It's been set to expire 2 other times, and the city council agreed to continue it the last 2 times. Also, the state of California keeps pushing back the deadline of what was originally a health emergency and is now more of an economic development, public amenity type of program. So it's still a temporary program. They're temporary parklets that are subject currently to be removed at the end of July. It would have to come before the Planning Commission and City Council to continue beyond that, and there would be a more robust analysis on that specific topic.
Thank you. And then the last thing was, it sounded like one of your recommendations was to consider the possibility of hiring 2 FTEs of park rangers or somebody who could write cites, and the cost of each FTE would be $160,000 a year, including all the benefits and training and all, aside from salary. Is there an analysis where, I know the goal isn't to write citations, the goal is sort of to make more parking available, but is there like a cost-benefit analysis to those decisions?
No, I think is the short answer. That was a consultant recommendation. We would have to speak with the city council and the city manager and the other departments where the park rangers work. Right now, what we know in planning and what the consultant knows, just from looking through our books, is that the park rangers we have now are allowed to write tickets for public parking on public streets and public lots, and they occasionally do so in the Pier Bowl and on city-owned lots, but right now they're not being utilized in that capacity, so that's where the idea to hire one or two more of them came from. But we would have to define a program and a set of expectations for what they were doing. The idea wouldn't be to have them writing tickets all day long. It would be to incorporate that into the duties that the current 4 to 6 rangers already have, and then to hire one or two more to augment both their parking and their other responsibilities.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate that.
Yeah, it seems like that would have to be reevaluated as you go through your phased implementation approach, because if we're looking at enforcing all these different, I like how this is a diversified approach. I like that we're prioritizing access and paid parking over ticket violations and things like that. When I look at the phased approach, it seems that the increased in options, yes, thank you. It was the 0 to 2 year, the 3 to 5, I don't know if you have it was in the document, I don't know if it was on the slides. I see it's still here, it's listed on the other column, but it was the one that it was in the far left-hand column. I did go through your tables. What I was considering was the 2 FTE, and I know that's spread throughout, it's going to have to increase as you increase the very diverse options for parking, which I think is a great strategy. But my question kept coming back to the enforcement piece. Does that also phase?
Enforcement has ebbed and flowed in the city over the years. I mean, our primary enforcement, again, is volunteer seniors. The park rangers have been deputized to write tickets, but it's based on their departmental priorities, and that's generally not their highest priority, and they have a lot of other responsibilities. The Orange County sheriffs can also write tickets. It would be more expensive to hire another FTE sheriff to write tickets. They tend to focus on sort of dangerous violations, people parked on a red curb on a corner during a busy intersection. They would write a ticket for that. So we don't have a detailed plan for implementation. These are consultant recommendations. The city council would have to consider and direct staff to do more analysis of the best and most cost-effective way to implement these ideas.
I know that just in my cursory research, some cities have parking enforcement under Public Works, and I just think that that could be a consideration as we move forward with this, is what is the most cost-effective way to ensure that we are enforcing these rules, because if we set these all into place and we're not actually enforcing it, I don't know how much we're accomplishing.
Yeah, I appreciate the comment. I took a note. We will come back with more analysis. Again, those are the 3 options we've come up with so far. There's also a 4th option. The city could create a whole new position just called parking enforcement officer, which might have a lower full-time rate, and that would be their sole responsibility. Other cities have, like, Public Works staff. Or we could contract with a third party as well, a private entity that does only parking enforcement. So that's the kind of thing we probably would return to the city council with a more specific budget estimate.
So, quick question on the parking, I guess, yearly passes. Let's call them annual passes. One thing as a point of observation is there are 2 types of parking. There's car and there's golf cart. Has there been a examination into the amount of parking spaces that can be utilized by a golf cart? And if there can be an annual pass for said golf cart?
We've had some sit-down meetings with the consultants and with our Public Works staff, who are the ones who go out and stripe the streets and have to think about safety. What we heard from the Planning Commission, and I think a few members of the public, is they don't want to lose full-size vehicle parking at a ratio of 1 to 1. They don't want to lose one full space,
Yes,
just
1
to
to
get one
3
golf
then.
cart space. But if we could get 2 or 3 to 1, then they think it's worth pursuing.
But you're not going to get exactly, like, I'm not going to pay, so, all right, anecdotally, what is it, Ocean Fest? I went and parked with 3 other golf carts backed into a Pier Bowl space, right? That wasn't metered, but I got a ticket from a volunteer that was not 2 tires on the curb, right? So we efficiently parked, but we still got a ticket. And 2 of the golf carts didn't have registration, so they couldn't get tickets. So I feel like there is a we might be able to capture a little bit more revenue by offering some sort of, you obviously can't have a sticker because it's a golf cart. It's like a motorcycle, right? It would be the same as a motorcycle parking. I would say golf cart or motorcycle parking or moped parking in metered parking spots. But if I could pay an annual fee for that, I would definitely do it. Again, anecdotally, something you might want to look at. I don't know how that helps with the commission and your issue, but
Yeah, it wouldn't be our intent to raise a lot of money from the golf carts, so that could be a reduced fee or even a free fee. What we don't want to lose a lot of parking spaces. If we can find a way to designate golf cart spaces, ideally we want those to be in areas that aren't removing a bunch of vehicle spaces. So that's what we're going to need help from a public works staff or from a future consultant that would come out and put the paint on the street. The recommendation would be more like what you outlined, to find areas where golf carts can park without displacing vehicle parking and not pay the full rate.
And last thing, I don't want to harp on this, but satellite imagery, parking lots, they already do it for oil tankers.
Yeah.
Hey, daily parking lot, like ChatGPT or whatever sort of AI looks at imagery and analyzes that, like, it's much better than sending out a Google Street View car.
The reason we used the car was to get it every 2 hours for a 14-hour shift. The consultant did use satellite to look at vacancy rates around town more generally, like residents and hotels, how full or how vacant those lots were, and generally found that we were similar to other cities in that we tend to require more parking than is really needed for most commercial activity, and that there could be shared parking or reduced standards or leniency for small businesses like hotels and restaurants.
That's a great takeaway.
Generally have more parking than they need. Now, when we get new proposed hotels and restaurants, they tend to propose to have less parking than either they need or than certain community members or decision makers think they may need, because it's not profitable to have giant parking lots anymore. But the ones that are already there are not usually full, especially the private businesses.
Again, just anecdotally, like 4th of July is peak San Clemente, right? And that's when you see parking lot immediately full at 5 a.m. You saw that the beach was not full. So there's a capacity to parking to actual, like, if you can increase parking at the outlets to increase beach application, I don't think you're gonna make more parking at the beach. All right, I'm done. Sorry, off the soapbox.
Anyone else? Any other comments? All right, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Director Wiley, but next steps are to table the item this is more just like, oh, okay, can you bring it up?
Yeah.
Do you have your-
Really quick.
Slip, please?
What's that?
You'll need another.
I got one. Basically, I'm
Yeah, you got it.
We have to have the other, yeah.
Christine, again, resident. This seems like, from what you've explained very eloquently and elaborately, or whatever, long with it. Anyway, these studies and all that, all they're saying is that we don't have a parking problem, and that we can create more revenue by utilizing all these means that he's talking about to make more money. That's all it says. There are times like 4th of July that you don't have it. There is no other. It's the way it's going to be. These high demand areas are going to be inundated no matter what. No matter what you do, you can either make more money off of it or you could leave it alone. But according to what he just said, the capacity is more than enough, and that everything is working fine, except for during certain small number of hours that we have a more than 85% capacity. Am I right in saying that? I mean, that's basically what you just said, that everything is working great, that we don't have a parking problem. And that, and from what I've heard is that all this scenario will end up is making the city more money. And then it becomes kind of a pain for the only thing I did like about that was that it had some exception for residents to bypass all the nightmare of it all. You know, with whether it's new equipment or, you know, and also, by the way, the small electric vehicle thing is not, that's never worked out. You could expand the existing trolley system, that might help. It gives a few jobs to a couple of dudes, that's great. But from what I just heard and the analysis of this, it shows that our parking is fine, with the exception of a very small number of hours. So, the amount of money that he's talking about implementing this stuff might be, in the long run, yeah, make more money for the city, but at what cost? And I do appreciate the fact that the residents of San Clemente have an option, a $50 option, which hopefully remains it. But to be able to have a sticker, I'll get one tomorrow. I had no idea. But they should know that too, by the way. For some reason, I never got that memo. But I appreciate all your effort and appreciate the council's time. Thank you. And my point is that if it isn't broke, don't fix it, sort of. Some of this stuff, it may look like it's it looks like it's more, it's going to make things, if you've been in other beach cities that are, by comparison, one of the charts that you showed, they're a pain.
All right.
They're a pain to park in.
That's your time.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for letting me speak. I appreciate it. I'll give the other card.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All
I
right.
appreciate it.
Debbie, do we have any more public comment? Okay. Okay. All right. So yeah, as this was just to provide some feedback for this study, I believe the next action item would be to table it due to an uncertain time for when a draft is fully completed. Right? Is that correct?
So if you guys would like to see more information, you're going to want to give specific direction on what you're looking for.
Okay.
If you table it, it's never going to come back to you.
Okay.
If you're accepting the report as is, or as Zach has presented, you can always receive and file the report as well. But as Zach mentioned, if you'd like more information, you'd like him to come back, now would be the time to put that into a motion, or you can receive and file it.
I mean, I personally think that this directly impacts, since we're looking at these 5 key areas where there is more impacted parking, it does directly impact our beach access. So for that reason, I feel like if we table it forever, that doesn't feel right to me. I would want an update to know how it might impact beach access, or if there are any future plans that might impact the view. I would want to have some input on that as well.
Would you like to make that motion?
What do I say? Okay. I would like to motion to table this item for a future date when the draft parking and TDM plan has additional information that pertains to beach access and beach parking.
Does that sound good, Zach? Are you clear on that?
Yeah, I would interpret that to mean we'll come back probably at your next meeting in, is it 2 months or 3 months?
February.
In February. And we'll answer some of the questions you raised, but provide a shorter packet with analysis directly to the questions you raised. And if there's any more detailed information on, I don't think there will be on structures, but any updates, we'll provide the same updates we provided to you as the Planning Commission and City Council.
I would add a friendly amendment to that, Alyssa, if you would accept it, just to add parks as well, just so it's anything that impacts our purview.
I second that motion.
Yeah.
All in favor? Okay, aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Any abstain? Right.
Just a quick point of inquiry on this kind of thing. Like, so Linda Lane had a project that was moving the park, right? Like, is it, it's connected in a certain realm, but that's tabled, the Linda Lane project is tabled entirely, right?
It's a separate conversation, yeah. That's the master plan update, and that's.
Okay, so that's not within parking, but it involves parking, right?
Yeah, this is specific to what we have today.
Okay.
What we know is
All
to
right,
be
fair
real,
enough.
not
Thank you.
future.
All right, so motion passed. Next on our agenda, 6, I guess C now, Wyland and WDOC, the Waterways Park, Pocket Park.
Thank you, and good evening, Commissioners. My name is Nikki Beach. I'm the Environmental Programs Analyst for the city, and I'm here to provide an update on a long-standing project that we've been trying to get off the ground for a while now, and that is the MoDOC, or Municipal Water District of Orange County, and Wyland Foundation sponsored Pocket Park project here in St. Clemente. So here's a timeline of kind of where we've been with the Pocket Park. This all started at the end of April 2019 after a month-long competition called the Wyland Foundation's National Mayor's Challenge for Water Conservation, kind of a mouthful, but basically residents would sign on to a website called mywaterpledge.com, pledge to do certain water saving and watershed protective behaviors, including solid waste reduction, recycling, and water quality protection and saving water. And then they would get a point for their city. And so there was a breakaway competition, even though this is a national competition, that the Municipal Water District of Orange County, who's our wholesale Orange County-based water provider, hosted and sponsored to provide basically the design and the construction of a small water-wise pocket park somewhere in the winning city for the city that got the most percentage of pledges. And so in 2019, we actually won this competition. And so it was a pretty exciting moment for us. And then, so we kind of had a lot of momentum and moved into the fall when, over the beginning of the school year, essentially, Saddleback College was another partner in the program. And they have a horticulture department that many of you may be aware of. They do great work there. And they were partners in the sense that students were helping us kind of select a good site for this type of project and come up with a clever design. And so we met with Saddleback and their students and their horticulture department head and brought 3 sites that we decided would be good options to the Beaches, Parks and Recreation Commission in November of 2019. At that point, we got direction from that commission to provide additional sites for consideration. They just wanted to see a little bit more variety throughout the city. And so we went back and revisited a few additional sites and provided 7 sites for consideration at the January 2020 Beaches, Parks and Recreation Commission meeting. And at that point, they selected a preferred site, which was kind of over at the DeHay Court beach trail access, down basically at sea level down there, and an alternate site that might be a good option too, which they decided would be at the Ole Hansen Beach Club. So at that point, we took these decisions of that commission to the City Council, and in February 2020, City Council actually went back to those original 7 sites, and they picked not necessarily a preferred site, but one of the sites that we had originally considered, and that is the empty vacant lot that's city-owned on the corner of Avenida Madrid and South Ola Vista. So a quick note too in this timeline is that shortly after we won the Mayor's Challenge in 2019, our mayor at the time, Stephen Schwartz, passed away unexpectedly. So it was a really kind of sad time, but also bittersweet that we did, over the course of this timeline, decide that we would provide some kind of memorial to late Mayor Schwartz in this project. So keep that in mind. Okay, so before we move, so I wanted to point out too that in that timeline, we did have the pandemic happen, so we'll talk about that in a second. So here's the selected site. This is an image from Street View. Like I said, it's at the corner of Avenida Madrid and South Ola Vista. It's close to downtown and the pier, so pretty central location. It is close to Trafalgar Canyon, so if you look at to the very right of that picture, that's kind of where the canyon starts, and it kind of goes under Ola Vista down towards the bridge on the beach trail where it discharges to the ocean when it actually connects, which is rarely, mostly just during heavy storms. And so that's a challenge and an opportunity because there's obviously connectivity to our creeks and oceans, but it's also an opportunity for us to educate our residents of the importance of protecting our watershed. It was also brought to the attention of the project planning team by residents in the city council and commissioners at the time because it is a popular dog walking and relief location. So again, another opportunity and a challenge where we can educate people about proper disposal of pet waste. And it is city-owned. There's existing infrastructure to provide some irrigation, but there's probably going to be some work done on that aspect. And of note, I didn't really touch on this too hard, but MoDOC, Municipal Water District Orange County, is sponsoring this project, and Wyland Foundation is helping get it off the ground with some other project sponsors too. However, we will be responsible for maintenance. It is a small lot, but that's something to keep in mind, that we want a low-maintenance park that doesn't cost us a lot in the long run. And so this slide is where we have that big jump to April 2025. So obviously, right after City Council selected the preferred site at Avenida Madrid and Ola Vista, we had that shutdown for the pandemic and COVID-19. I feel like that's a popular theme tonight about the way that that has impacted a bunch of different projects. So, obviously city offices were closed, MoDOC was closed, Wyland Foundation probably had to shift gears too. And then eventually, even at Saddleback, we had these students working on this project, and they basically kind of were zooming into class, and they kind of moved on at that point. So we had this kind of gap of momentum. And then we also had the Department of Horticulture, the department head, he actually retired in the time being between 2020 and 2025. But a couple of years ago, the city staff did regroup with Wyland Foundation and MoDOC, and we really got serious about meeting back out at the site. And Wyland and MoDOC brought in a new firm called the Urban Ecology Studios, and they're actually doing some really cool work in South Orange County and partnering with a lot of water districts in the area to do really cool and innovative turf removal projects where they bring in native plants and really interesting landscapes. So this is their proposed design. Hopefully you can get a better look at it in your packets. Some of the features involve 2 entrances to the park, which makes sense because it is located on a corner lot. And one of those entrances has kind of the whale tail design. There's a bench proposed that has like a surfboard design, which is appropriate as homage to St. Denis surf culture. The whale tail also kind of reflects on Wyland's contribution, which is nice. There's a dog relief area that's going to use drought-tolerant Carapia as opposed to traditional lawns, so hopefully the pets will enjoy that, and it'll be effective and also low water use in the process. And then there's kind of this meandering dry creek bed that will allow some rainwater to kind of meander through the site and land in a detention basin where a lot of pollutants could theoretically settle out before they discharge to Trafalgar Canyon, which is kind of to the right of that image. And of course, interpretive signage is one of my favorite features of things like this, is really putting education out there and connecting people to their place in the geography of the park and understanding where they are in respect to a watershed and their beach community as a whole. And so these are just some more images to kind of give you a feel for the project site. So that's another kind of street view. You can see that the slope as you go south on Ola Vista does slope downward, and that's what that red curve is. That's on Ola Vista. And then the picture to the right shows kind of the longer part of the park, again, is facing Ola Vista with Trafalgar Canyon kind of to the right or to the east of that location. The creek does kind of meander. I don't think I have a pointer, but it does kind of meander away from the park. So a lot of the vegetation that you see kind of where that circular palm tree is, kind of below there, is mostly just native scrub. It's not necessarily riparian or sensitive creek bed, but we are being very mindful about buffers when we consider how we plan this project so far. Okay, so next steps. Obviously, I'm here tonight to get feedback from the commission as it currently is comprised, and see if there's anything else that we need to incorporate in the design or ask Wyland or MoDOC or their project partners to consider to meet the needs of our city and also be an effective demonstration garden for low water use and protection of water resources in St. Clemente. Following this, we will have to go to Coastal Commission, so we're going to work with I'm going to work with our planning division to hopefully get a coastal development permit exemption, because this project is pretty low profile and it should have more benefit than detriment to the environment when it's completed. And so at that point, we'll have an administrative permit that we'll process internally, and then hopefully be able to put together an agreement with MoDOC and Wyland to formalize our agreement to have them cover the cost of the installation of the park. And we'll continue to do outreach to explain to our residents, or share, as the park progresses, we'll want to get the word out there to our residents about the benefits to water conservation, water resource protection, ocean protection, all of that, and also make sure we include the memorial to late Mayor Steve Schwartz. So on that note, I'll open up questions. I do want to mention that Steve Creech from the Wyland Foundation is here to answer any questions as well. So he's got a good perspective coming from that partner side. And on that note, I'll let you ask away. Thank you.
I have a question. Is the, I think it's a great project. It looks wonderful. Is there a possibility of doing it at some of the other sites too, or is that funding limited?
So, assuming you've been able to read the previous agenda reports that went through the other sites, I don't know of any city budget that we would have to do a second park site. This has been a long, drawn-out process, so I would recommend maybe moving forward with one site, and then if this becomes a model for kind of a long-term pocket park improvement program, that'd be great. But that's kind of dependent on things outside of our control right now. And I would say, we can look at those other sites. I don't know how I feel about recommending that we revisit which location we do this park, because it has gone through several decision-making processes, but you're welcome to discuss and direct us.
In addition to this one.
Yeah, and that's a great thought, because I do look at these other sites and I sometimes wonder what if, but maybe that door isn't closed, so definitely a great idea.
I have a question and also an idea, because I'm just really inspired by this idea. I love the multimodal community aspect of it. I love that it considers not only the flora and fauna and the geography of the area, but also the patterns of the community around it. I was wondering, since all of the information is old, do things like the budget and the timeline still hold? Are we still looking at a 6 to 12 month installation time? Has any of that changed?
I'll let Steve speak from his perspective at Wyland, but I think we're trying to be optimistic with the understanding that a lot of these project partners are helping us administer this project in addition to their regular requirements and duties. So 6 to 12 months, especially with the Coastal Commission process, we might want to be a little more patient on that front. So cost, yeah. So MoDOC has reasserted that they're up for the challenge. I don't know the details of how they hold that budget, but I'm sure that money is still waiting for us. It's just been a process getting to this point after the pandemic. So,
my suggestion, I think that this has such a potential to ignite passion in people to be involved in some sort of water conservation. I'm not sure the plan for the interpretive signage, but if there was some sort of a website, something that does not change, that people could go to and then they could get involved in community beach cleanups or different water conservation based activities that can continue to build the community around that goal, I think that would be a great opportunity to incorporate.
Yeah, I didn't get too deep into the interpretive signage, but I have a lot of ideas myself too, and I know the county has a website called H2OC. It's actually on my water bottle. H2OC.org, and it's their stormwater education program, and so it's a great link because it's easy to post. They have QR codes, they have a lot of interesting visuals, and they kind of have all these different things you can do to protect water quality, including things like using less water in your irrigation. And we would want to also, I'm sure MoDOC will have some information, like they've got some URLs that are pretty consistently maintained to provide water conservation information. And with like smart controllers that we're gonna have on site to control the irrigation in a highly efficient manner, and drip irrigation, like that's gonna be stuff we're gonna wanna educate our park visitors on, as opposed to just make it like hidden in the background of the beautiful plants, right? So definitely we'll continue to seek input about the things that we need to have on those signs.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I had a number of comments. I actually typed them up, Mickey, so I don't know if you would just want to get a copy of this, but I'll just kind of briefly run through them. I'm glad to hear that you're including an irrigation system, because I think a lot of people believe that native plants don't require water, and but they do. It's just on a much different schedule, and they do consume a lot less. But if you don't have an irrigation system, it will not be successful. Because I reconverted my front yard, and so I've kind of learned there's a lot to learn about these plants. They're completely different than what most people are used to, and I do think that there's good opportunities for people to donate time, both during the installation of the plants, it's just grading and sowing the plants, basic stuff, and also maintaining the plants when they're done. It's not, it's not a situation where you just plant them and walk away. The amount of water they require varies throughout the year. You have to maintain the mulch. They have to be pruned on a regular schedule, generally to look healthy. And so I think that maybe the San Clemente Garden Club or the California Native Plant Society, that I'm sure you get people interested there. And there's a lot of people who donate at the Tree of Life Nursery, which grows native plants on Ortega Highway. And I just learned yesterday that they're closing. I don't know why, but
I think their lease is up.
Oh, that's
They're
really
leasing right
unfortunate.
so.
But there's dozens of people who volunteer there, and so they are already really familiar with native plants, and it would be a direct fit for them, and they would probably be really happy to help out. And I know that a lot of these native plants, one reason they do so well in soil without any added fertilizer and little water is that they have very low nitrogen requirements, and because of that, if the dogs are peeing on these plants, it will kill them. So they're going to have to keep that in mind and make sure that people are encouraged to stay within the area specifically designated for dogs.
Yeah, and I like that idea of trying to really highlight that this is an opportunity, and maybe it's a community experiment, so to speak, where we do adaptive management. We see how the Carapia holds up to that kind of use. I don't know if I personally don't know of a lot of experience with that kind of use or that kind of lawn replacement, but I mean, maybe Steve can chime in if he knows of any other projects where it's worked well, or if it's kind of still an unknown. And then, the city will be responsible for maintenance, so we can adapt it to meet our needs in the future. But I love the idea of I hadn't thought about that either, about having volunteers come in to help with the maintenance portion, because that's huge. Maintenance of low water use gardens, once they're established, is generally pretty low. So maybe just that kind of hands-on experience for our residents and homeowners to understand that it's an option for their homes as well is definitely one of the main intentions of the program.
And is that dry stream is there going to be water channeled into that stream, or is it just going to collect the runoff from the property?
It'll, in the beginning, I think it's just going to be the property itself, but the exciting thing is that I understand there is some potential street improvements that will happen down the road on that intersection. And so even things like maybe a pedestrian crosswalk, because it is kind of a blind corner in a lot of ways. So I'm also kind of working with our engineering division to see how we can incorporate not only things like the crosswalk, but also like a curb cut coming off of Upper Avenue at Madrid, if you will. I guess that would be like the 200 block, 100 block maybe. So bringing water in from that street and letting it run through the dry creek bed, whether it's dry weather runoff, like somebody's washing their car and there happens to be runoff, and having that water come and be treated, or if it's a smaller storm and it just wants to kind of flow through that creek bed and pick up less pollutants and hopefully leave some pollutants behind before it goes down in the creek. Yeah, great idea.
I think the design looks great. I realize that's preliminary, but it looks.
Thank you for the feedback.
All right, any other comments? Okay, thank you. We do have a public comment on this. Please continue.
I didn't think I was going to speak, but someone mentioned volunteers, and during the pandemic, there was a need for maintenance or upkeep of the plants on Avenida Del Mar, and it came out of a social media post, and I basically took it as a challenge, and I basically brought water, gallons of water, and started watering plants to help basically businesses, because they were struggling through the pandemic, and I think one of their last things that they would think about is bringing in water to water the plants. I approached St. Clemente Garden Club, and it was, I spoke to Q Doan, and she had mentioned to me that with the garden club, it's really hard to get volunteers just to do a maintenance of a project. And so she said, if you want to take this on your own, do that. And on social media, I tell you that there was a lot of negative comments regarding how no one was really maintaining these plants. So it was Andy Hall, the city manager at the time, actually it was 2020, and then when it was Eric's son, I mentioned it to him, and then when Andy Hall came on in 2023, I met with him, Randy Little, Adam Antanian, who was here earlier, and someone from the St. Clemente Downtown Business Association, he's on the board. And we went up and down the Del Mar and discussed what plants needed to be watered and maintained, and those plants that are already maintained by the businesses or by their landscapers. So I'm just mentioning this is because sometimes when a project comes on, it's hard to get those volunteers. I also help with the garden club at Park Semper Fi and previously at Casa Romantica. So sometimes it is kind of difficult to get those people to start, volunteering. Sometimes you just have to find and get those emails sent out, and Q's fantastic with that. So I just wanted to mention that sometimes, we're being in the garden club, it's kind of difficult to get those people to come in and volunteer, but it's always great to reach out to them and see what they can do as far as the maintenance of that going forward. But thank you so much, I appreciate it.
Thank you, Amanda. All right, we don't need to vote on anything with this, it's just a presentation, correct?
Yeah, if you have any other feedback based on what you've given, Nikki, do you need any other direction, or are you good?
Yeah. I really just want to make sure that this design, there's no heartache over this if we're going to send this up to Planning and Coastal Commission. And it sounds like there's not. But I did want to give Steve Creech a chance to talk, if that's okay. I don't know if he has to submit a card. He's from Wyland Foundation. He's a project partner. Okay. No, that's okay. Yeah.
Thank you, members of the commission. I just want to say on behalf of all the partners, appreciate your opportunity to review the project with us. The Waterways Park Initiative really exemplifies our efforts in the last 15 years with Wyland, the Wyland Foundation, to get people to think more about upstream water management and its impact downstream on our oceans. I've been with Wyland, working hand in hand with him for years on the murals that we do, the outreach initiatives, our Clean Water Mobile Learning Center, which has educated over 1 million kids since we developed that. We've been here in San Clemente, Marblehead, Lobo Elementary. But by and large, our efforts are to get people to think in terms of the fact that we all do live downstream from one another, and ultimately downstream is our coasts. And I think Nikki really captured the project quite well, that this is a group initiative, and it is something in and above our day jobs. This is something we care about very passionately, and the fact that so many different stakeholders come together to create a project that the whole community can learn from, and also has the additional benefit of reducing runoff, and the fact that in this case in particular, this watershed directly affects the health of the coast downstream at T Street, which is visited by hundreds of thousands of people every year. And the reason why we do have beach closures is because we have high runoff after rains, and these types of factors from urban use, pet waste, fertilizers, pesticides, it does collect, and we are at the end of that chain where those pollutants really do collect en masse. This is the last stop before it goes into the ocean. And our goal is to educate everybody, not just your garden clubs and native plant societies, but our kids, and we want them to learn from this and be able to pass this on. Anyway, just want to say thank you on behalf of MODOC, Wyland Foundation, Toro, our other partner, Saddleback College. Thanks to Nikki and her department for everything they've done. We're looking forward to working with you. If you have any questions, we're here at your disposal. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right. Anything else on that one?
So it might be helpful just for process if Nikki can get a motion to approve the plan as proposed. That would be helpful for our record, if the commission's okay with that.
Any motion? I motion to approve the plan as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Any abstain? Any nays? All ayes?
Aye.
Passes unanimously.
Thank you so much for your time and feedback.
Thank you. All right, next on the agenda, the update on the 2025-2026 work plan timelines.
Okay, so good evening, Commissioners. I'm Samantha Riley, Beaches Parks and Recreation Director. If you can go to this item in your agenda, what I've included is just your work plan as is, and I thought we can go through I believe it's 8 or so items on your work plan this year. I can give you updates on each of them, and then I will look to some of the subcommittees that have been established as well for further updates. So I'll start with project number 1, which is our cost of services study. We're done with that. Congratulations to everybody.
It did something. Yes.
That was a heavy lift for about 2 years.
Say one.
The project number 2, review of concept designs for the playground replacement projects at these 2 facilities. This has been kind of kicking around for a while, and in full disclosure, the amount budgeted is not nearly enough for the size of these playgrounds. If you're familiar with these 2 parks, these are substantially sized playgrounds, some of our larger in our city and our park system. And unfortunately, due to the rising cost of absolutely everything, playgrounds are not immune to that. So I had hoped I had a great design, and again, in all honesty, I received a preliminary design from a company for just 1 park, and it was $850,000. So that kind of blows through the entire budget for both. So what staff plan to do going forward is seek proposals. We'll put out essentially an RFP for designs given this budget, and we'll just have to see what we get back. The other element that's really kind of tangled in the budget is we're no longer doing wood chips surfacing, so that'll be pour in place, and I can promise you pour in place surfacing will continue to take away from playground equipment. So, but that is the direction we've been given. And that will be a conversation the commission's going to have, and eventually it will get to council, that you're going to have to sacrifice something along the way. And this will be a good conversation to have as we look at several more playgrounds that need replacement for the future, including Courtney Sandcastle, which is up for replacement in the next couple of years as well. So I'm hoping that I can bring something to you guys in the spring of 2025. At least some concept, or 26, at least some concept designs that you can look at see if we're heading in the right direction, or maybe we need to pivot and look at other options altogether.
Thank you.
So that's that one. Project number 3 is the participation and review of concept designs for a new dog park. Staff will be releasing a survey it should be the end of this week or early next week, that will be open for about 30 days, that's seeking input on both the dog park location and the amenities and surfacing within that proposed new dog park. So based on that, we can bring the survey findings back to the commission in February, so you can have a preliminary understanding of what we heard from the community, and then hopefully we can get direction from the commission on what we should be going out to bid for design. There's a chance that we don't have to go out to bid at all for design, and we can kind of work something in-house and then just go out to bid for construction. And I know we have some really talented community members that have a landscape architect background and are interested in just helping us get through this process. So expect to see survey results at your February meeting. Project number 4 is the consideration and review of design of the meadows. I have architectural renderings that I'm working through, and again, this is probably ready for February, but I am mindful of how much goes on to on your meeting in February. So I don't want to overburden a meeting with too many items that would become ineffective meeting, so to speak. So that again could be ready for February. This is a council priority in the CIP program, so we would like to move that pretty quickly. But I can work with the chair and vice chair as we set the agenda in January for February to determine what we're going to prioritize on all of this.
Could we call a special meeting if we need to?
Certainly we could.
Okay.
Yeah, if there's too many things happening. This is one of those times where having a meeting in March could help us, because some of these things, April could feel very far away.
Right.
But we can play that by ear.
Okay.
Project number 5 is establish a subcommittee to partner with the North Beach Community Association. I'm going to look to that subcommittee for an update where you guys are at from timing.
Do we want to do that here, or?
Or you can provide an update later.
I'm happy to have this be the update.
Okay.
So a lot of momentum in North Beach right now. The first thing is a survey went out to the community, and that helped us understand what the community wants, the sort of enhancements they're looking for, and the ones that are relevant to BPNR include area beautification, specifically at the entrance to North Beach, improving sidewalks, the beach stairs. The beach trail was repeatedly cited in the survey. A lot of people mentioned that it's the reason why they want to live in North Beach. Improving and enhancing Maxburg Park. A community spaces side of things like events at the vacant lot, the beach club, sort of promoting this family community feel that North Beach has. And I want to emphasize that this is much larger than North Beach. And what we found when we had a sort of like a town hall, it was well attended. We packed out the top floor of the beach club. In attendance, Andy Hall, Mayor Loeffler, who's the district representative there, many members of the city council, community development director was there. And that was an opportunity for the city to show the community what they've been up to and the progress that they're making, and for the community to show the city that there are engaged members. And it was evident that many of these items in the survey are actually currently in progress, but this development side of things from the city is sort of a black box from the perspective of residents. So in parallel to this work plan, the subcommittee is going to propose a sort of online portal that will allow members of all of San Clemente to stay updated on what's going on in the city. And this will look like, a database of all the projects going on, and it will give the user the option to sort by priority. So with the order in which the city is executing on these projects, it can be sorted by at the community level. It's a really modular portal to improve transparency, but to also give the residents the opportunity to hold the city accountable to these projects going on, with the understanding that, staff time is limited, the city has limited resources, but a lot of residents are feeling that things aren't getting done, and part of that is because there's a communication problem, and part of that is because things can fall through the cracks. So those are the two things we're working on, and in terms of timing, I don't think this is going to take until June to finish.
Let's not change the timeline on that, though. If the subcommittee completes it, then we'll dissolve it. But
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, there's a lot of momentum right now. I don't see it going that long.
Who's building this portal?
That is something, it's a great question. Something like this could be, with modern, AI coding software, I could make this in a week, but I think the city's going to want to do it on their end. So we could come up with a demo and present it.
the city has been working to redo the website for some time, right?
It's
a
done.
Brian. Oh, it's done?
Yeah,
Okay, it's been updated.
it's been updated.
Okay, so, I haven't been on, but, that's a conversation to have, but a lot of it even is breaking it down by district. You can click on what district you live in, and then what are the main projects going on there, or something like that.
Yeah, it's going to tie really closely into our GIS program. Most of this project and development stuff does. We have a fantastic GIS coordinator, but these kinds of things need to be prioritized by council. We at staff level can't take direction from a community partner. It's something that they want. So I know that the NBCA leadership is in regular communication with the city manager as well.
Yeah, we're here kind of to support and help with the communication aspect.
That's it.
Okay. Okay, back to the work plan, project number 6, the review of parking access and paid meters. We started this conversation this evening. This was Commissioner Grace's item. I know she was interested in, as she also participates in the RSVP program, so hopefully we can kind of consider this in progress and in motion. Number 7 is the sandcastles for Sloan. I'll defer to the subcommittee on this one as well.
Yeah, I'm happy with this to be our update as well. So on October 27th, we met with Allison, who is Sloan Mattingly's aunt, about options for sandcastles for Sloan. And we decided that we need to do sort of a phased approach. We talked about things that can be done in more the immediacy, and then some ideas for moving forward with education for the public. I've been in contact with Metrolink and Amtrak to talk about safety messages on the San Clemente beach stops, so that we can have some sort of a catchy brief phrase to let people know that they need to build sandcastles and not holes. We're also exploring an option for signage at the Metrolink and Amtrak train stations. That is owned by the city, so I'm going to be just exploring what our options are there. There's not really a budget, and they're not categorized as a nonprofit yet. So we're also exploring education through the junior lifeguard program, so that we can have our junior lifeguards be trained in some messaging around this. And then we talked about ideas for the future, such as them applying for a nonprofit status, maybe exploring some sort of fundraising, some sort of booth at Ocean Fest, things like that. So we came up with several ideas, and I think she wanted to take it back to the family. We were going to do our fact finding, and then we're coming back in the new year to discuss our next steps.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then our last project is project number 8, the development of a long-term beach sand policy. And again, I'll look to the subcommittee on this one for an update on timing.
Sure. So started to pull together a lot of the great information that's already on the website about the different options and the different goals. I think if you look through everything, there's been everything from 50-foot wide beaches to 250-foot wide beaches, where I don't think there's ever been a 250-foot wide beach here in San Clemente. I don't know if ever, but definitely not since I've been here in the last 25 years. So trying to pull together some of the historical data that's available on what we have had historically, and then putting together some options in terms of different ways to think about it, in terms of, do we just want to be back to where we were historically? Do we want to build giant beaches? Do we want to build where we are historically, but maybe give ourselves some more room to deal with things like climate change and sea level rises that may open up some other funding options. So looking at all of that, what my hope is to talk. The other thing that makes makes this all sort of opportune is, as I'm sure a lot of people know, there may be a ballot measure coming on our for vote next year in November about possibly raising taxes to pay for more sand or be sand focused. So this could help inform voters on what that might buy us if it passes. So those are the things we've been looking at in terms of timing. Given that the ballot measure is coming, and being a little bit ambitious, I'm hoping that if there is time in the February meeting to bring some of this back in terms of a presentation of options, get the commission's input. If there's public input, then get some public input with hope that we could have something to send up to the council for consideration by the following April or June, before the next commission is here and sort of the momentum that we currently have is lost.
I would like to bring to discussion the subcommittee chair, because the subcommittee did not meet in the last 3 months, as I'm aware of. Van Aert, if Commissioner Van Aert, if you met with Thor, but in terms of communication to the subcommittee, I think we need to work hand in hand with Leslia and the current projects that are going on in that realm. And I believe that one person from the subcommittee should be an intermediary between the city and the projects going on and the subcommittee. Personally, I just signed myself up for another subcommittee apparently, but as somebody with great interests in it, I would volunteer myself. But understanding that somebody driving this subcommittee is going to be the one that's going to keep the momentum going is crucial, and understanding that the momentum is coming from working hand in hand with the city architect of coastal remediation and revetment, I think is something that needs to be discussed, and I don't think it needs to be voted on, right? But I think it needs to be agreed on that is the approach.
Yeah,
right?
I think I hear what you're saying. What I would recommend for this subcommittee, and I admittedly at the staff level haven't engaged with you guys on this, but I'm happy to start those conversations. I think it might be helpful initially for the entire subcommittee to meet with Leslia. I think you all share an incredible amount of expertise and knowledge in this, and there can be sharing on both sides of the table with what she's been working on and what you guys are kind of sorting through as well, because I do think at the end of the day they do have to be married together. So if I can recommend in January, let me have a conversation with Leslia, and we'll try to get a meeting together with the whole subcommittee so we can bring her up to speed. And then the subcommittee can figure out where you guys want to go from there. If that's just one person kind of back and forth in between, that's fine. But I think all of you are owed a meeting with her, and I think she'd be happy to do so.
Yeah, I think that was the idea with the work plan is specifically to work with staff, and in the proposal I sent to the subcommittee, I'm not sure if you've had a chance to see the proposal I sent out.
Sent this week.
Yes, so
I didn't check my email. I apologize.
So I have been trying to communicate with you, so just so you know that it has to go both ways. I did propose that we try to meet with Leslia
If you can forward that email to me as well, and copy Debbie on it, and we'll start to work on getting something on the calendar for that subcommittee meeting in January. Hopefully you guys, you might have a small update in February, might not be substantial, but at least we're, again, continuing to keep the ball moving.
And an update to that, I know John had interest because he wasn't here when we were
Yeah.
appointed, but
Yeah,
had
I'm
interest in
interested in
joining.
joining the subcommittee as well, and I can provide some additional horsepower to get some of these things done.
So if that's something that we're interested in doing, that we need a motion for him to be added.
I move for Commissioner Delegowski to be added to the subcommittee for development of a long-term beach sand policy.
Second.
So, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstain? All right, passed unanimously. Okay.
Okay, so that concludes our work plan timeline update. You guys can receive and file or just table the item. I don't know, it's up to you.
What, does anything else need to be done with it?
I don't think so. It sounds like we have pretty good updates on everything. Subcommittees will continue to be updated. Any other work plan items that are on the staff level, I'll provide updates in my staff communications at our regular meetings.
All right, then I move to accept and file the updated work plan for 2025-26. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you, Secretary by Schmidt. All in favor?
Alright.
Opposed? All right, passed unanimously. All right, item 7, communications.
Yeah, just a really quick update. As I mentioned earlier, our fee cost of services study has been adopted and approved by council. Very exciting. I appreciate this commission's commitment to seeing that through. I think it was a really effective process and demonstrated the ability of the commission and the public to listen to each other and come to really good compromises. So just to reiterate for the commission's edification, our new fees go into effect January 1st, 2026. Staff have been doing some very serious messaging and due diligence on getting that word out. And it is being received as well as it can be. Most of the time, I think people acknowledge that it is what it is. We're continuing to work with some of our partners who are potentially seeing some financial burden somewhere along the way, but as we've committed to, we'll kind of continue to assess that. But other than that, we are going forward as is. And again, I appreciate the work on from the commission on that. The other update, I want to remind the commission that the city goes on we take a furlough at the end of this year. So our city offices will be closed from December 25th through, I believe it's January 4th, we will return to the office.
I think the 5th is the Monday. Yeah.
Yes, it is,
Do you
January
have a
5th.
half day for Christmas Eve?
No, if you are a member of the public, I would recommend not coming into City Hall. It's likely counters may be unavailable starting at noon on Christmas Eve.
Okay.
It's technically not a city holiday, but we are on a very skeleton crew.
Yeah.
So take care of your business prior to the 24th, ideally, but there will be staff on December 24th, at least until 12 o'clock on that Christmas Eve holiday. So I know it. As a reminder as well, the Aquatic Center is closed to public access, but the Oleans and Beach Club is open. There are holiday hours and all of that, so if you're a swimmer, go online and check that out. The Community Center is closed as well. We are tackling a few projects over furlough, as we always do at our facilities, and the pool is one of those. We're doing a few things on the pump room, and taking it at Hermosa. Yes, Commissioner Hassans.
A question on the fee schedule. I watched that city council meeting where they approved it, but it seems like there was a discussion on the $5 field fee for the soccer and swimming, and it seemed like they rescinded that.
They did. They eliminated that.
But it sounded like they wanted to kick it back to us because they wanted to make it fair, because pickleball wasn't paying it and volleyball wasn't paying it, and it sounded like they wanted us to take another look at it.
Not really. They mentioned that was not in their formal motion. So right now, they removed the player fee, which is $5. This is just for partner groups, including the swim team and water polo and our field groups. They removed that $5 player fee as kind of an element of compromise, because there was still some concerns about even just a 10% $2 increase. So they removed the $5 fee just outright from the fee schedule. Again, with a commitment to continue to look at fees going forward. They talked a little bit about pickleball, but again, we're waiting on formal direction from council. While there is a now established per court per hour rate for pickleball, we don't have a policy on how to manage that. So right now, we don't reserve pickleball courts, and we don't have the ability to do that. We just don't have the policy in place like we do our other facilities. And so we would be waiting for council direction to have that come back to the commission still.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I think those are all my updates from my side, unless anybody has any questions for me.
Okay, items from the commission. So we have already done the North Beach Community Association Committee update, the St. Castles for Sloan, the beach sand policy. The aquatics fee subcommittee this was finished, correct?
Well, no, because we met
Continued.
after that meeting.
Continued, okay.
I do think it's morphed into aquatics policy subcommittee.
Right.
Oh, okay, because there's different people on that one. Like,
It's
I know-
an aquatics, so that one's done. I would say
Okay.
that can be removed and it needs to be changed to aquatics partnership policy subcommittee.
Okay.
And we can update that if you guys want to give an update on that.
Okay.
Sure.
I can.
Okay.
We had one Zoom meeting, and it was with the swim team president, the president of their nonprofit board, their head coach, Mr. Van Nort was there, and Carrie Schwartz, I'm not sure what her title is, aquatic
Supervisor.
And I think the discussion sort of was that they really do appreciate our decreasing the increase in fees, but there was a concern of how they can meet the Tier 1 status criteria of having 300 participants and 88% city residents. And then I think the plan was to have another meeting and talk about that because Thor wasn't able to make that meeting. And so I think it's an ongoing process to try to figure out how we can basically be good partners with the swim and water polo team.
So I think there's a little bit of confusion because we also had a separate meeting, Alyssa, Matt, and myself.
I was at both.
You were at both? Okay. With water polo as well. Talking about their pains, basically,
Okay.
with this policy. And I know that we have another meeting moving forward too, on the 14th and the 22nd. It's hard to kind of get everybody in the same room at the table.
There's a lot of players at this table.
No, excuse me, January.
Okay.
January 14th and January 22nd, right? To meet with both of the stakeholders again and continue to refine this policy.
Okay, so we just need to rename that to...
Yeah, we will update the title of that
Do
subcommittee.
the two subcommittees need to merge so that
They kind of are.
Yeah.
It's just,
We're missing.
yeah, for formality, we're
Okay.
merging.
Because it's the same,
and-
it's the partner
thing.
policy. It's partner policy
Correct.
that's being actually discussed. and,
Yes.
Not the price per lane.
No.
So it's
No,
the original,
yeah,
what was accepted by city.
right. Okay, so there's the update on that. Commissioner Grace is not here to provide a Pure Pride update. Does anyone have any future agenda items that we have not discussed?
I don't know, so you mentioned there's a lot of stuff for February. What's the lot of stuff?
Well, the things that I went through in our work plan potentially could come to February. We also will be bringing back a conversation about lap swim lane reservations to the commission, which can be a big conversation or a small conversation, it depends.
Like a 3-hour meeting?
Yeah,
or-
and so, but those are, I mean, that's about 4 items right there, but again, I don't know that I'd bring all 4 of them, because I do think, right,
Okay.
I don't want to.
I guess what I was hoping was to get an update from Leslie on anything sand, but two particular things, which is the OCTA placement
Okay.
and the offshore stand search.
Okay.
And I don't think, I try to catch if someone else has seen an update on those in the past several city council meetings, then maybe I just need to go watch the YouTube video, but I don't think I've seen those. And
It might come in January. I know she's got some things teed up, but we've had some pretty heavy council meetings.
right. So, I mean, if she's doing it already at a city council meeting, then maybe it's not necessary to do here, but if we get to the February meeting and she hasn't given those updates
Yes.
otherwise, I think it would be really good to get those,
Okay.
because those, I think, are on everyone's mind, and two things that everyone's really excited about when we talked about them earlier in the year, and it's sort of, I don't know what's going on. But
Yeah, that's, so what I'll do is, I'll talk to her, see where she's at, and then I'll work with the chair and vice chair. If it works to get in February, we'll play it kind of by ear.
Okay.
Also hopeful that we can get an update to the subcommittee as well then.
Yeah,
At a minimum, the
Minimum
subcommittee
an
gets
hour.
an update.
for
Okay.
that. Sorry.
Well, no, I mean, that's the thing. I would love to potentially talk about future agenda items to go to a monthly meeting, just because we have so much stuff to cover
Does,
with the merge of the two commissions.
does it justify that monthly meeting though? Again, like this is with the Coastal Advisory Committee, we had this discussion of whether it needed the subcommittee, and the Leslie reports or an OCTA, they're coming fast, but they're not coming that fast. And so
But just for the rest of our work plans and whatever.
well, yeah. So if there's need
Yeah.
outside of sand, then
I
yeah,
guess we can play it by ear.
that's not for us. But I would say that the sand subcommittee probably does not need a monthly check-in outside of the subcommittee check-in that will be established now that we've discussed it.
What does the rest of the commission feel? Because I know that we had to do a secondary one with the aquatic stuff, and the aquatics partnership policy might need its own meeting again.
I think I would defer to Director Wiley on that question, because I think for ours, we're pretty nimble in the sense that we can convene subcommittees, we can meet pretty flexibly within a subcommittee, and then we can call special meetings when we need to make decisions as a group. But if we feel like, if Director Wiley, if you feel that habitually it is sort of deterring the pace of your work, or that it is creating way too much of a lopsided agenda.
Yes, I appreciate what you're saying. What I would say is we, first of all, it's not really the commission's discretion to add more meetings. That is actually has to be done by resolution of the council, because we have to update the ordinance and the code. So that really needs to be a council decision.
Okay.
But that said, I think a demonstration of monthly meetings comes out of this a routine call of special meetings, because that demonstrates that wow, they're meeting more than just their regular. And we've had quite a few special meetings, I think already. There's been a couple this fiscal year. I also will say, I think we should schedule a meeting with our council representative. I believe that's Councilmember Enmeyer.
Okay.
So let's schedule that sometime with you, Shauna, and then also Thor.
Okay.
For the four of us to sit down and meet, and you can bring some of those ideas forward. That will be helpful as we go. The city clerk's going to look to fill vacancies on, I don't know if there's any on this commission, but that will be coming up, so.
You mean for 2026, 2027?
I don't know if there's any on this commission. I don't know when your term's up, but that.
I know I'm up in June.
Okay, so that's going to be, this always happens when we talk about commissions and committees. That's when they change meeting schedules and they add.
Okay.
Go from 7 to 9 and then.
Okay, so we'll have that conversation with Enmeyer, and then.
Yes.
I see where you're going. Great. Okay.
Wonderful.
And then there we go. All right. Anything else, anybody? Okay, let's adjourn the meeting. Do I have a motion to adjourn to the February 10th?
Motion to adjourn.
To
February 10th, after the new year.
2026, 6 p.m. Do I have a second?
If that was a legal motion, then I second.
I don't know. Okay. Does that work? Do we
It
work?
works.
Okay, all right. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Happy New Year.